What is up, everybody? Today is Saturday night. It's April 2nd, and I kind of just wanted to pick up the what's this? Yeah, these are PC parts. I'm gonna be building my own PC with no knowledge beforehand of what components meant, how to put my own PC. I had a little bit of knowledge. So me and my friend Kyle Hoff, appreciate that guy, we stayed up till I would say about 5 in the morning discussing different parts, what they each mean, how to do each component, and I am watching a YouTube video with this exact case, 4000D Airflow. It is really nice for airflow. It's one of the best cases. We got an i7 12700K. This is unlocked, so you can overclock it. Actually, 3600 megahertz, 216 gig DDR4 RGB Corsair Vengeance Pro RAM. We got the Corsair RM500X. This is 850 watts. This is the power supply. We got a 3060. Now, I think everybody who knows PC would want a 3080, but you know, I have the no money nor the patience to wait for a 3080 to go down to MSRP price. So we got a 3060. This is the EVGA DDR6 12 gig gaming graphics card, and then obviously we have the cool mount brackets. Then we have the motherboard, which is the B660 gaming XAX DDR4. This is by Gigabyte as well. And today I'm waiting on two parts. I'm waiting on my cooling, which is the Coolmaster RGB, and I'm waiting on my SSD, which is WD 1TB. Be my gaming PC, my streaming PC, my editing, photography, videos, whatever it may be PC. I'm gonna put the link for PC Pickers that has literally everything that I have. So these are all of your pin cables that connects to your power supply, and these are pretty much self-explanatory, right? You have your SATA or IPATA cables, which connects to your SATA drives or whatnot. I mean, this connects to your motherboard. It literally says motherboard right there. And then your PCI and CPU. This connects to all of those. It's very self-explanatory. All you have to do is just twist, and they'll come off. Then I don't know who does this, but never take off the plastic that is on the screen until your whole build is finished and you're not going to touch it anymore, because then you're going to get all those fingerprints on it, which I have done many times in the past with cell phones and whatnot. Like that. Then when you're putting it down somewhere, obviously make sure that you're putting it down somewhere where nobody's going to be sitting or no screws laying around and whatnot. This is inside the build. So obviously you have your fan up here, you have your fan over here, you have the mesh front that's active. Okay, so a quick little breaking the editor wall sort of thing. It took me a lot longer to finish this video than I initially planned for. It took a lot out of me because I don't usually do these types of videos, but I wanted to try something new, and this is something new for me. So just hang in there. I know it's a lot. I currently am in a different room. That's because we actually moved out of our apartment, and so therefore it took a lot out of me to actually move while I was sick, and I just have a couple days left before I go back to school, and I just want to get this video out there. I'm going to have a tight schedule for the start of the semester, so I don't know how many videos I can actually go and make. I really do hope I can still make videos and I can still take photos and edit them. I just don't think I'll be able to do it as freely as I used to. So it's going to be more dead on the channel than it's already been dead for. So get back into the video, shall we? Actually magnetic, so it's very easy to clean the dust. And then obviously right here, the front panel over here, it's a mesh so that's nice. And then this is where the power supply goes, down here. And so we're going to be taking this off, and then the back is one of the key things because I suck at cable management. So and this just folds out, and that's your back panel. What you have here is your solid state drive little camera right here, and it pretty much just comes out. And the cool thing about these plates is that you can go two options for these. So you can go with obviously the regular normal one, which is tying in the screws, or there's these little pins, hard drive with the little pins, and you put it together in here, pretty much how you would line it up with the screws, and you just put it on this side first, and then you flip it, and then you put the hard drive in like that, and now it's tightly secured. And then if you want to do it, you just slightly bend it out a little bit. Don't do it so much because this is plastic, and then you just put it back in. You see right there, it's fine. So we don't necessarily have to take out really anything, but that may be a different story once we have the cables attached to it, because the cables are pretty thick and it does take up a good amount of space. So we may have to take this off and just move it a tad, which isn't very much of a problem. It's very easy to do. They have the same screws that you can just, get a normal screwdriver with and get it in there. You might want to get something that bends as well if you're going in a tight position, or something that doesn't allow you for room. iFixit comes with, a good one to have. Right now we're connecting the biggest one to the power supply here. Cable done. Let's go on to the next cable. So if your case has a fan that is going downwards, right? So it's on the bottom and there's like an airflow type of thing, which pretty much means it has holes and looks like air goes through it. You're gonna want to face power supply, the fan going downwards. As you can see here, I mean, it's a lot of cables, right? It looks like a mess, but in reality, when you know what you're gonna do, it doesn't look like, no, it still looks like a mess, no matter which way you look at it. Alright, let's go ahead and install this to the case. Okay, so now what we do is the bag with the zip ties that you got with the power supply, you'll find these 4 little tiny screws. These screws are connected to the back plate of your case. So this is going to connect the power supply to the back part of the case. Now my camera is on the Ronin S right now, right? DJI has made it almost impossibly hard for me to control anything logistical, anything with the motors. Literally nothing I can control on my phone anymore, unless I downgrade to Android 12 or 11. Which is more difficult than it simply sounds. You have to go to the DJI website and look for APK files, but now you have to enable to download unknown sources from your internet on your phone and open the APK file to turn it into an app. What the You're making it the most difficult thing to put my trust in you again. It is Monday, it is actually not Wednesday, and the only reason why I decided to record is because my setup right now, I don't have enough room to actually be comfortable with. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch this side right here and put the monitor arm on here. And this has good weight support, right? It's not gonna just flop over. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take out the monitor, unplug everything, obviously take everything off of the desk so that way it's easier to move out, get all the cables out, and that way I can actually cable manage them. So that way when I actually put my PC in, it's not very difficult to do anything that I actually want to do. So let's go ahead and get into that right now and let's get started. Now we can wait till Wednesday while we build my PC. This is gonna be some exciting stuff. So it's not Wednesday, it is Tuesday. The last components, which is my Coolmaster cooling and my M.2 SSD, should get here in the next hour or so. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set everything up already, put everything in so that way I don't need to worry about anything getting set up or whatever. Boom. The motherboard and everything in there set. Your chip, right? So I have the i7 12700K. You're gonna need your RAM, which I have 36 megahertz, 216 gigabyte Vengeance Pro RGB Corsair RAM. And you're gonna wanna get the motherboard, which is this guy, right? Gigabyte B660. Supports Wi-Fi 6, DDR4, Wi-Fi built in, Bluetooth built in, everything, right? So let's go ahead and get this unboxed. So this is the motherboard. Let's go ahead and set the actual components inside. So let's go ahead and get this out. Alright, so because this has built-in Wi-Fi, you have a Wi-Fi connector, right? This is a Wi-Fi connector. This is what's going to connect you to the Wi-Fi. Now here, so what you want to do is you want to place the motherboard on top of your box. This is where your chip goes. This is your graphics card goes, right? Or if you have a capture card, that's where that will go. These are the 4 RAM slots, right? And over here on the side, so if you have 4 RAM sticks, you don't need to worry about it. But for you to get the most output out of your RAM, you're gonna want to put it in the order slots. And over here, you can see that there is says first. It says DDR4 A2 and B2. So, and it's simple because blacks are the 1s and the grays are the 2s. Very simple, right? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the chip installed. Now let's go ahead and install your CPU, right? So I'm just going to cut this out right here. This is the processor, right? This is the chip. This is an Intel i7 12700K. It has about 12 cores, which is nice for when you need to do overclocking, or if you're editing 4K stuff, or if you really want to game. What you want to do is you want to take that out, is the shield. Now what this does is this is the shield. So when you place it down, the shield's gonna come off and you know that you installed your chip properly. If you look very carefully, there is a triangle right here, right? And there's a little tiny triangle on your CPU. And what you do is you just place it to where that triangle is. So in that case, place it there. Do not push it, do not do anything, because what that will do is it will damage your CPU. If any of the pins gets pinned, if any of the pins, one little pin gets bent, it's done. You can't recover it. Let's get into the RAM installation. There should be directions indicating on which way to put your RAM in. So, I don't know if you can see it. Right here, there's DDR4 A1, A2, B1, and B2. And it says first, and it's highlighting A2 and B2. So, if you're installing only 2 memory sticks, you're going to want to put them in A2 and B2. This is our RAM, and this is 36 megahertz. So this is really, it's good RAM for what I need it. There are slots right here. These slots match up with these little pins down here. So you're going to unclip these clips. You're gonna find which way your RAM goes. So for instance, my RAM is gonna go like this, and you're gonna clip them in. Both clips should have pushed up if you successfully installed your RAM. Do not move it, don't flip your board and shake it, don't do that. If it's sturdy, both clips are in, your RAM is installed. Don't have to worry about it. Now let's get in for the last RAM. And then all you gotta do is, and now our RAM is successfully installed, right? Our clips are up, they're not gonna fall out, they're successfully installed. We have done our CPU and our RAM. Now let's get into the memory, the M.2. Right, so my last 2 components arrived just now, which is my cooling and my M.2 memory. And the cooling is the Coolmaster RGB Black Edition 212. I also have the brackets to install it on Intel CPUs and motherboards. And I have a WD 1TB M.2 SD, which we are going to install right now. Make sure you peel off any plastic that is on your motherboard, your RAM, whatever it may be, because if you leave it on, it'll heat up very quickly. So make sure you take off all the plastic you can, and that's actually for anything that has plastic, especially TVs. TVs in the back has plastic that you can take off, and you have to take it off because then it won't cool down properly. It'll have non-normal temperatures. And then now that we're going to install the memory, let's go ahead and get that out. We have, this is a 2400 megabyte a second read. So this is actually a really good one. So let's go ahead and take this out of the box. Now, when you're installing your memory, your motherboard should have either an M.2 installation either on the back, which mine does not. Those usually come with smaller compact motherboards, and some motherboards come with a cover that you can put on your S.2 or M.2. This is your heatsink, right? So that makes sure that it doesn't heat up or doesn't do anything that it's not supposed to. Obviously, don't take it off just yet, but before you put it back on, make sure you do take off the plastic on it. Now let's go ahead and install the M.2 drive. Now, as you see here, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be connecting this into here. And this right here is a hole or gap, so that way when you put it in, it doesn't hit it. In order to know which way you put in your M.2, there's a little gap right here. This little gap also goes in with this little gap here. So if you go and look at your motherboard, there's a gap right here. It's a little tiny gap. It's very hard to see. What you're gonna do is you're gonna line that up with the hole here. So since my little tiny pin, which lines up with this hole right here, is on the right side, we're going to make sure this is on the further right side. Then all you're going to do is make sure you line that up, and you'll be on your way to installing your memory. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to finally install the cover. So what you're going to do is you're going to take off this, make sure it's aligned. And make sure that when you're installing it, it's in line with this. Then you're just going to screw this in. And to finally install is our cooler. So depending on the size of your motherboard or where your RAM is located, you might have an issue that you're going to run into doing this. Make sure you check the compatibility of your cooling with your motherboard. Our motherboard, over to the other side of the desk. We're going to install our cooler. So you'll have to get extra brackets to do so. Because my motherboard is Intel and my chip is Intel, I'm gonna have to get the Intel LGA 1700 mounting kit, right? So this is what we're gonna also be using to complete our cooling system. So this is the cooling. So let's go ahead and install our cooling right now. These are the brackets, RGB controller, everything that you pretty much need, anything extra that you need is going to be in here. You buy this extender, which is an LGA 1700 kit, which is, if you look at the motherboard actually says LG 700 on it, right? So if you look right here, LG 700 right here, it says it right there. So obviously, the cool thing about PC Picker is that it detected that and it said to buy the bracket for it. So now that we have the bracket, what you want to do is you're going to install it in the back. Luckily, the bracket that it comes with in the back shows you how to do it, right? So it shows you the package content, right? And then it shows you how to put it together. So what we want to do first is we want to get the cooler. Alright, so let's put the motherboard on the side for now. Let's go ahead and get the cooler. Put this in here. And you just line it up. And you screw it in like so. That's not going anywhere. And then you do the same on the opposite side. And what do you know, it fits. Now that we have it in the back, you're going to see that there are standoff screws right here. And what you're going to do is you're just going to put them here, like so. So you're going to want to put the plugs going this way, because that's where your CPU fans are going, and your CPU is going to be installed. So now that we have that, put on the thermal paste. So for the thermal paste, you do not want to put a ton at all. We're going to use the P-dot method. because we don't have a thermal paste spreader. So you have your CPU right here. What you're gonna get is you're gonna get your thermal paste, you're gonna put it right in the middle and just squeeze a little bit out. Wow, this thermal paste is watery. Because we don't have a thermal spreader, we're not going to spread it out. You're gonna line it up like so, and then you're going to screw them in. So now that the RAM is in the way, what we're gonna do is we're gonna wanna take out our RAM, and then it just pops off like so, and now the fan is removed, right? And then we can finish screwing in the rest of this. So we're just gonna clip back our fan like so. Now we have everything cleaned up and ready to go. Let's go ahead and put our case on the table and install the motherboard. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna install the motherboard. So the best way is to lay your case flat. And then make sure your I/O shield is in the correct spots. Like so. So these are the standoff screws. And if your motherboard doesn't have standoff screws, you would install these. Now let's go ahead and install the motherboard screw in the case. So you're just going to match the standoffs with your motherboard holes with your screws, and you're just going to do that for every hole you have. Now the motherboard holes usually have some indicator that it's for them that is different than the rest of the screws, and for mine they have white squares across them, which makes it different. Now we have our motherboard installed. Now we can face it upright, and our motherboard is now installed. So let's get my graphics card. My graphics card that I'm using is the 3060, 12 gig. It's GDDR6 by EVGA. And obviously I think everybody really wants a 3080 Ti. Those things are cost an arm, a leg, and a head. So why would I? And a 3080 is more than capable of running everything that I'm going to be power housing this for. Over here, and you'll see that it's only one single pin, so we don't need more than one PCI cable. So PCI cable really depends on how many pins your graphics card has. The cool thing about fully modular power supplies is you can take out anything that you don't need. So now we have one PCI cable, which is for our graphics card. Then we have our main component that completely drives and turns the power onto our motherboard. And we have our CPU power supply and our Molex cables, which powers any I/O fans or any RGB stuff like the remotes. This is going to be the one to power it. And so some motherboards have the front panel plugs on the bottom, some have it on the top. You have to research your motherboard and see where the front panel plugs go in, like Power Plus LEDs and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and connect that right now. Okay, so this is our graphics card. So you see we have a protective layer right here, which protects the sensors there, and that's where we're gonna go. We're gonna grab it from the bottom, and we're gonna slide it in like that. These are your HDMI ports and everything like that. Make sure to take out all the plastic you see here, because if you don't, it will not function properly. You won't get good coolings, and something will go wrong. Once you have all the plastic off, we are now going to take off the protective cover and we're going to install our GPU. Put your fans down. You don't want your fans up. So once you have that, you're going to find you have a little dip here, just like how we did for our RAM, and you're gonna find a little dip here and you're going to do the exact same thing you did for your RAM. You're going to push it up and slide it as close as you can until you hear a clip or it locks in place. You heard the clip? It's installed now. So now you're going to put back the screws that you got off of your back plates. You're going to screw it in. You might have to push up your graphics card just a little bit. Have your graphics card installed. Now, the last thing we need to, well, not the last thing, almost the last thing we have to do is plug in your CPI or your PCI cable to your graphics card. Get your PCI cable, it'll be called PCI, and you'll have a total of 16 pins. Depending on your graphics card, you may not need to use all 16 pins. For my graphics card, 3060, it just takes a regular 8 pins, so you just need one 8-pin side. It doesn't run and something doesn't turn on, we know that we did something wrong, and we have to go back and find out what is not plugged in or what we need to plug in. See if this turns on. Got everything installed. Some troubleshooting. It's always good to go back to your manual, because that'll explain everything better. If you're wondering how to do something wrong, something like that.
A few moments later.
So I ran into an issue. So everything's running on the PC. The issue for the PC was I flipped the power switch and the restart switch, so everything works now. We have a little Wi-Fi thing there. So our problem is we downloaded Windows on the USB flash drive, but it wouldn't install, kept running into an error. So right now we're trying to figure out what the issue is. So we're in BIOS right now, just making sure everything is running properly. You see here, we have my DDR4 in the correct slots as it's supposed to be. Recognizes it. Obviously it's 3600 megahertz, but you have to change that once everything is set up in BIOS. We have the i7 12700K. That's reading it. Our temperatures right now are around 27 degrees Celsius for CPU and the whole system. It's nice is our PCI, our graphics card, and our M.2, 1 terabyte. Our fans are running properly. As you can tell here, cooling is nice and good. So now we're just trying to figure out why Windows won't install properly.
A few moments later.
So right now what we're doing is we're installing the drivers. So because this graphics card is a B660, it has an AMD processor on it, which is a new lineup. So what you have to do is you have to go to Gigabyte's website and find your motherboard and then download an AMD Wi-Fi driver. You get a USB just like you did for Windows. You plug it in and then you plug it back into your PC, and then you go here on the USB drive and you select the Wi-Fi AMD drivers and it'll install, and you connect to the Wi-Fi. Once you restart your PC, the App Center drivers will pop up and ask if you want to download it. Click yes, then you hit accept, and now it's going to download all the drivers you need for everything. Okay, so now we're going to restart our PC. Then once we restart, everything's going to boot back up, and then we're going to go back into our BIOS and adjust everything we need to adjust. So now we have everything installed, and because our display is set at its normal default settings, we're going to go and update and install all the Windows variable updates. Once this is all done, everything should be fine. We can change everything we need to change to our desired thing, and we can go ahead and finish the setup. So everything is up to date. There's nothing going on. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna download some games, run a quick benchmark, and that'll be it. Now I just put the case back just real quick, so we're gonna cable management at the end. Once everything is good to go, put it back, and then we'll leave it there and install everything. Now most of the stuff is installed. You see now we have the desired resolution for our display. Everything is up to date. So my display is 4K, so it would be 3840 by 2160. Now you can change everything, and what you want to do is, if you have a high refresh rate monitor, you want to go to advanced settings, and you can check the refresh rate here. My refresh rate is 60, and then you can change it between everything else. If it doesn't have the refresh rate on the bottom, what you can do is go to display adapter properties, and it'll pop up, and you'll see that it has different things, and then you can go to your monitor tab on there, and then this is where you click your refresh rates. You have Ziploc ties, more Velcro, and then another Velcro here. Go ahead and cable manage this. I mean, we're not going to do that much heavy lifting over here.